Now, we know that more than 80 hotels in Singapore have been given the green light to open for staycations. Haryanto, can we expect you to, hop on that and one
Of
of these
course,
hotels?
of course. I think it's a good option. Besides, you're not having the chance to travel overseas. I think it's a good opportunity to kind of just have a change of environment. And in fact, some of my friends, we are planning to have a staycation sometime soon.
Okay.
Yeah. What about yourself?
Perhaps, but I have two children at home, so we'll see whether that's feasible or not. Well, three agencies, including the Singapore Tourism Board, are hoping that Singaporeans will do just that, be a tourist in Singapore. Now, launching today, the Singapore Rediscovers campaign calls on residents to support local lifestyle and tourism businesses and explore hidden gems.
The $45 million effort is the largest of its kind, even bigger than the Step Out Singapore campaign after SARS in 2003 and the Boost campaign after the global financial crisis in 2009. The joint effort by STB, Enterprise Singapore and Sentosa Development Corporation brings together around 40 businesses offering promotions on attractions, tour packages and hotel stays.
Now, Singapore's tourism sector no doubt has taken a huge hit as a result of COVID-19. At a virtual tourism recovery dialogue today, Trade and Industry Minister Chan Chun Sing said the campaign is also an opportunity to set new health and service standards to provide assurance to locals and foreigners.
We can build on our reputation as a safe and trusted hub. And throughout all our surveys over the years, one of the reasons that people come to Singapore is because they see us as a safe place to live and play. They see us as having good health standards, good information sharing, and it allows them to have the peace of mind to bring their families here, to come here to enjoy what we can offer.
Mr. Chan also detailed medium-term plans for the tourism industry. Now, these include redesigning tourism products for niche market business travelers, rethinking the MICE industry model, as well as reimagining offerings to locals. In the long term, STB will aim to launch the request for proposal for the integrated tourism development in Jurong Lake District by the end of 2020. It's also exploring concepts for the redevelopment of Singapore Racecourse at Kranji as a leisure destination.
Overall, we are realistic that in the short term, there will be headwinds, and we will need to use this opportunity to reinvent some of our business model, to reskill some of our workers so that we can provide higher quality niche offerings as a start before we progressively resume mass market tourism offerings.
Joining us now to discuss this further is correspondent Tiffany Fumikote. Now, Tiffany, the campaign is focused on encouraging domestic consumption, but at the same time, during this bad economic climate, many Singaporeans are worried about retaining their jobs, while others are facing pay cuts. Now, even STB Chief Executive Keith Tan acknowledged in his speech that more job losses are inevitable in the coming months despite government support measures. Wouldn't the campaign then be counterproductive as people may be more conservative in spending?
Yeah, so Mr. Tan did acknowledge that we are in a recession, people are going to be spending less. And also there are significant constraints in that businesses mostly have limits on their capacity, right? So even for attractions, I think it's as low as 25%. And that really limits how much businesses can then discount their prices by and even stay viable in the long run. Those might be relaxed in the coming weeks, but to your point, Mr. Tan said the amount that locals spend is really not going to cover the shortfall in tourism spending. But this campaign is really necessary because unlike larger countries, we don't have a domestic tourism market where you can travel from state to state. So this is essentially, as he called it, trying to buy time for businesses to survive as long as possible until travel can resume. And he really stressed the point that if locals don't step up and support their favorite restaurants, their favorite attractions, then a lot of them might disappear in the coming months.
While STB is ramping up its efforts to boost the tourism sector here, as you mentioned, Tiffany, do you know if there are plans to help workers in the sector at risk of possibly being retrenched? And are there plans or retrenchments expected beyond the one announced by Resorts World Sentosa last week?
Yeah, so STB hasn't received any confirmed plans or further retrenchments beyond RWS's layoffs, but they have said that more are to be expected likely in the coming months, not just job losses, but business closures as well, given that the travel market's likely to be depressed for some time. So what they are doing is working with MOM, with E2I, the unions to make sure that when, tourism business signals that it might retrench workers, that they can lead to, place some of them in different jobs and also hopefully create some flexibility so that when the tourism market recovers, they can return to their previous jobs if they want to.
80 hotels here have been approved for staycations and are gearing up to reopen their doors to welcome guests. They're turning to travel-staffed locals to fill their rooms, but the usual perks that people enjoy, like a breakfast buffet spread, is not allowed, or access to common facilities like the swimming pool and gym is limited. Do you think these new restrictions will affect the take-up rate?
It's hard to say, right? But I think judging on what some of the hotels have been saying, the ones that are open, they've been getting a lot of inquiries, a lot of bookings for the coming long weekends. So I think buffets may not be around for a while. Some hotels require you to book before using the pool or the gym, but they are trying to make up for some of that by offering some of their staycation deals, throwing in maybe spa packages and stuff into the mix to kind of make up for that. I think there's a lot of pent-up demand to basically go anywhere, right? Because Singaporeans can't travel likely for the rest of the year, and people have been cooped up for 2 months during the circuit breaker. So I think that's what STB is banking on as well with its campaign, that Singaporeans spent more than $34 billion in overseas travel last year. So they're hoping that people will spend just a small amount of that and channel that into local businesses instead.
Thank you so much, Tiffany, for coming on to the show. We were speaking to correspondent Tiffany Fumiko Tay.